I finally understand the movie Vertigo. Spoiler, I'm going to be talking about the plot twist and event, so if you haven't seen it, go watch it and then come back later. I first seen it last year when I was just beginning my film watching journey and just got introduced into the world of Alfred Hitchcock films. And he's since then became my favorite director of all time just because of how much his filmography consistently entertains me. I said before and I'll say it again, it's very rare when I have such a positive reaction to the majority of someone's work. And with Alfred Hitchcock, there's probably like two duds most that I've encountered from him. The rest I either had a great time watching or they're one of my favorites. It's funny how I react to movies sometimes because there's some films by him that I can watch for the first time and immediately become enthralled by it, like his classic Psycho or North by Northwest. Which is right now my second favorite Alfred Hitchcock. And then there are some films where it maybe takes me like 2 or 3 watches to fully appreciate all that's going on within the film, like his classic Rear Window that took me a couple watches to really, understand it and get the complexities of it, even though I initially thought it was a little bit straightforward, but then I later realized that there's a lot more going on that kind of went over my head. And Vertigo, it happens to be one of those movies where it doesn't hit me right away. It didn't hit me for the longest, and I was really struggling with it because I've heard so many people just give this movie praises. Some people call it the best movie of all time. Some people call it the best Alfred Hitchcock movie. And for the longest, I just couldn't understand why. Don't get me wrong. I had a great time watching it. The first time I was really into the plot twist. I just really didn't get the hype. I had a great time watching it, and it took me a couple more watches to really appreciate the beauty and the cinematography, the colors and all that. But then again, I just couldn't connect to the story, and I finally figured out why. The biggest reasons that kind of held me back from liking Vertigo more the first couple times around, it was mainly the ending that I couldn't get over. When I was watching it the first time, it just seemed so out of nowhere, so abrupt, and I was like, oh my God, I just didn't see it coming. Funny thing is, it low-key traumatized me for a while because like whenever I was watching a Hitchcock movie and I got invested in a love story, I was always scared that he was going to randomly kill off a love interest because that's something that he's done multiple times. And I was just like, oh my God, I can't take the suspense. He's the master of suspense. He's the master of drawing things out and just building up anticipation and have you on the edge of your seat to see what happens next. And when it came to like the characters that I care about, I just couldn't take it. It took me a while to have like a normal reaction to his movies again because man, when I first watched Vertigo, the love interest Madeline/Judy, played by Kim Novak, I got so attached to just to have her killed off at the end. I was like, oh my God. I was just so invested in the love story that was going on between the protagonist Scotty and Kim Novak's character, and I was like, what was the point of the ending? Why just have her killed off like that? They could have been together. You know what I'm saying? They could have had it good. It took me to realize like that's not the point of the story. This goes back to how audiences watch movies because we can hear a premise and get interested in it and then have an idea of how we want the movie to execute that premise. But at the end of the day, that's not why we watching movies. We're watching the movies to see what happens. We can't just have an idea of what's going to happen next. No, we have to meet movies where they are. That's a thing that I'm learning more and more nowadays. Like, you can't force somebody else to make the movie that you want. You have to watch what's going on and really understand what the movie is trying to say. And that took me a long while to do. What helped me was watching other people's reactions to the movie on YouTube. There's one YouTuber in specific where I love her reactions. She's just so intelligent and she has a real skill for watching movies. She's able to pick up on the meaning and what's going on. Her name is The Kobe Show on YouTube, so go check her out if you haven't heard of her. I was watching her reaction in Vertigo, and there were specific instances where her reaction would literally cause me to change my perception on the movie and just get me to consider things that I wasn't considering before. And one of those things was the protagonist, Scotty. My first perception of Scotty was just that he was just some guy who fell in love. He became a little unlikable at the end, the way he was controlling and, just being a little domineering. I was like, oh, Scotty, why you have to do this? You're acting kind of weird, And when she was reacting to it, she was really becoming horrified by what Scotty was doing. And in my head, I was like, oh my God, it can't be this bad for her to have such an extreme reaction to what he's doing. And I was like, he's just some regular guy who becomes a little unlikable at the end. And then that phrase in particular, just some regular guy. And I had that thought, but I never verbalized it until I was watching her becoming disgusted by who he's becoming. And I was like, is Scotty some regular guy? That had me reflecting on myself a little bit, because if I was in Scotty's shoes, I wouldn't have done nearly any of the shit that he did at the end of the movie. And it got me thinking, like, was I being biased of Scotty's actions? And the answer was yes, because I didn't want to see what he was becoming. You know, he's a monster. Let's get that out the way. He's a monster. He wasn't just some regular guy who had became unlikable all of a sudden. Back when I didn't understand the movie and I was trying to get why people loved it so much, I had read all types of descriptions and reviews on Letterboxd and Reddit. And of course, I've seen a lot of people talking about Scotty's obsession, but it didn't really click to me until that moment. I had to take a step back and be like, no, he's not some regular guy. He's obsessed. He's a monster. You know, the things he's doing is not okay, and his behavior is not something to be glossed over. It's something to be horrified by. She had the appropriate reaction and I didn't. And that was a real wake-up call for me, because I was like, I'm watching this entire movie wrong. You know, just thinking like, that's just Scotty. No. And by the time she finished the reaction, she was still horrified by Scotty, but she loved the movie.
Oh, that was just such a rush. I loved it. Thank you guys so much.
And she loved the story it told. And that's like the beauty of filmmaking and movies and telling a story, where it's okay to watch people do not good things and still love the story that's being told, because it's not some type of moral test. It's not real people. It's a story to tell a message. And once that really kind of sunk in for me, I went back and rewatched the movie with a whole new entire perspective that really shifted everything. I really had to start viewing Scotty as a real monster in order to feel something other than sheer pointlessness at the ending. When I was watching the movie, it just clicked to me, you know. Funny enough, it felt like Alfred Hitchcock had fooled me and anyone else in the audience who thought this was a love story, because that's what I thought it was the first couple of times. The chemistry between Scotty and Madeline / Judy was just so tangible and so potent that I thought that it was a genuine love story. And when they didn't get together in the end, I was disappointed. But then I realized the story wasn't about love. It was about obsession first. It was about infatuation. It was about lust, and it was mainly about impulses. You know, I will say it is tricky watching older Hollywood movies and trying to discern whether movie is making a love story or it's making a commentary about love and you know, lust and infatuation, because all the characters, like all the love interests, they meet each other and in the first 20 minutes immediately fall in love, and then after 3 days they're trying to get married. So when you're watching these older movies with a modern perspective, all the love stories really look like lust and infatuation, because they don't really know anything about each other. But it took me a while to realize, like, the story that Alfred Hitchcock and the writers were telling in Vertigo was not a love story at all. It was about lust and infatuation. And watching Scotty, you know, stalk and spy on this girl, of course at the request of his friend who was really setting him up, and then immediately fall in love with her, which, now that I think about it, was really the first indication of his moral decline, because for all intents and purposes, he thought that was his best friend's wife, and he go fall in love with her, kissing her, and you know, just being really romantic with who he thought was the wife of his buddy. So you know, that makes sense there. And the complete mental breakdown that he has when he thinks she commits suicide, so it's so bad that it puts him in the hospital, and he's just not talking to anybody for 6 months or a year or whatever it was. It's funny looking back at it, because I should have really realized that he's not okay. This man is not okay. And in the second half of the movie, mainly the third act, when he just becomes this controlling, obsessive freak, and for all intents and purposes, he followed a complete stranger back to their hotel room, barged in the room, and had a few small talk, and then immediately asked her on a date because she looked like the girl that he couldn't get over. And that's not okay. I think that's kind of the natural biases that we have, or at least I did, when we follow a protagonist for as long as we did, and we're more acclimated to his behavior because, you know, he's been doing that the whole movie, but it's not okay. It gets more not okay when just after like briefly knowing each other, he's already offering to take care of her, to pay her bills, to provide for her so that she doesn't have to work. And then it gets more and more not okay when he's dressing her up as the love of his life, who he thinks died. He's literally dressing her up as a dead girl. He's having people put her in a specific color suit. He's having her makeup getting done a certain way. He has her hair dyed a certain shade of blonde. He makes a fuss when her hair isn't in the right hairstyle. He's just becoming so much more unhinged. And when you really look at him for the monster who he's becoming, it just makes his moral decline so fascinating to observe. And when he finally figures out that Madeline and Judy are the same woman, he just kind of goes off into the deep end. Like, the story just gets so much darker, and there are very sinister undertones going on when he's just driving her back to the crime scene without her knowing, and he's just saying creepy shit like, there's just one more thing I have to do before I'm free of the past. Like, he's sick. Like, this is a sick man. Like, this man is not okay. And it actually reminds me, funny enough, of the movie Juice. If you haven't seen Juice, I'm not going to spoil it, but for those of you who have seen Juice, I was looking at Scotty like Q when I really should have been looking at him like Bishop. I can't elaborate further on what I mean because if that makes sense, let me know in the comments. Yeah, by the end, we just see him dragging and manhandling Madeline up the stairs, just aggressively against her will. He's just controlling and domineering, all these bad things, and he's just like completely lost it. His hair's disheveled. He's sweating bullets because of how much force he's exerting, and he looks like a madman. And the funny thing is, his obsession with Madeline and his derangement literally caused him to get over his debilitating fear of heights and his vertigo, hence the movie name. And by the time we see Madeline / Judy fall for real, we see him step out to the ledge, and the final shot is just so chilling. It's so haunting. It's ingrained in my brain. It's just like a perfect shot because it's like he's now realizing what he's done, the monster he's become. And in a dark sense, it got him over the one obstacle that he couldn't for the entire movie, which is honestly so layered. It's mind-blowing. This movie just shows what obsession can do to you. And it's funny because there's this whole big show of Scotty being haunted by Madeline's death. But the truth is, like, he was haunted by the idea of her long before she died, you know? It's just really fascinating to see where it takes him. So yeah, that's the part about Vertigo that I finally understand, and I finally understand what the movie is trying to say. There are a lot of interesting concepts to explore, not only in the movie, but in my initial reactions of it, because there is a commentary that the movie makes about men, and specifically men in power, the patriarchy, because there are a lot of real life applications to the scenes where Scotty makes sure that Judy's dressing the right way, where she looks the right way, her hair has to be the right way, hair shade has to be the right way, makeup the right way. All of that can be a social commentary and a critique of men in power who oppress women by making their identity and value not only to them but to society solely based on their appearance, where you have to look the right way. And it becomes really sad and tragic at the same time when we see Judy give in to Scotty's aggressive, controlling ways because she wants him to love her, and that's the only way she can do so. And that is very applicable to real life, you know. It has so many layers that just completely flew over my head the first time. That's just talking about the substance. The style of this movie is like no other. It's easily one of the best looking movies of all time, and in my opinion, it is the best looking movie of all time. They're close runner-ups like Malcolm X or Paris, Texas, but the Technicolor in this, the green lighting, the set design, whether it's Gavin's office or it's Mitch's apartment with this beautiful, gorgeous shot of San Francisco and the hilly roads, all the outdoor shots where we just ride around the city, just gorgeous. I could go on and on about that, but there's even more when you just consider the filmmaking aspect in this. There's just so many instances of Alfred Hitchcock's camera movement alone, where he's using the movement of the camera to convey such important information, or just the frame shots a certain way. There's the sequence where Judy steps out the bathroom and into this green light after getting dressed up to be an exact carbon copy of Madeline, and the score is dwindling, but in the moment she steps out into that green light, it just swells, and all that plays into how much of a dark cathartic moment it is, because Judy finally resembles Madeline, the love of Scotty's life. And it's twisted because Scotty is just so infatuated with the idea of Madeline, and he finally got Judy to be an exact carbon copy of her. And Judy thinks that this will finally make him love her. But we know that Scotty is only infatuated with the idea of her and is not real love. And we know what it leads to. But then again, there's just the romance of it that Alfred Hitchcock knows, where we finally want these characters to get together. And he even has them kiss. And it's just such a... it should be a beautiful moment, but then again, there's the camera panning around them, where the background changes from the hotel to the place where Madeline and Scotty first told each other they love each other. And it's just so much conflicting emotions, and it makes you feel, that's what I love about films, when they can make you feel a whole bunch of things, whether it's disgust or it's love or it's happiness or it's anger and frustration and pain, loss, all these things. And there's just so much of that in that one sequence. In my opinion, it could easily be one of the best sequences we ever seen on screen. There's just so much about the cinematography in this movie. I could go on and on for days, but it's really just a whole different experience when filmmakers are using their creativity to put on these artistic displays while conveying such a deep and layered story. It's just so much about it that I love now. And I can't believe how I didn't see it in the first place. I just love when movies are able to make me have so many different perspectives, even after the second or third or fourth or fifth times I watched them. It's just so much to appreciate about this movie. Can't praise it enough. 5 out of 5 stars. It's now my favorite Hitchcock movie, and probably in my top 15 favorite movies of all time. I just love it so much. Let me know what y'all think. Let me know if this video helped change our minds. If you want more videos like this, follow for me more, leave a comment, let me know what you think.